Hello, guys. This is Alvin. Welcome back to the recording. So, what we're going to talk about is Amy Chen. Let's see what she's saying. And she is going to go nuts. Like, I don't know. If you don't know about Amy Chen, I think she's a dancer. Saw her profile picture and all that. But she's in there talking smack about politics. She's quite misleading. So, give it a look. Let me know what you think.
I want to talk about how this comment is a real red flag with respect to performative allyship because it's letting me know that this person is a European American. They are a beneficiary of supremacy culture. And
Who is European American that benefits supremacy culture? See, this is the problem with people. They act like they want to make themselves sound good. They want someone to is they just go around misleading themselves. Like, what the heck is wrong with her? Is she not getting that, or she just want to be delusional? Like, you're crazy and all that. Anyways, let's continue.
they claim to have fought against racism their whole life. And even though I have made them feel uncomfortable, they still will.
It's not that they make them feel comfortable. They questioning whether if it is or not. Okay, if they're uncomfortable with some guys, then benefit with Sicilians that dealt with genocide and all that. Who do you think who's going to deal with a lot of problems? The white supremacy culture of the KKK or the white supremacy culture of Sicilians? You need to understand yourself. See, she just makes it seem like, oh, we're uncomfortable. It's not that you make them uncomfortable. You're trying to make it feel better for yourself. You're not understanding what that. Anyways, let's continue.
But they couple it with making a demand that I talk about Chinese oppression of Christians. So what this lets me know is
It's oppression of Christians, or let me do a research. I search this up while talking. China, Madonna. And I want you to read this. Please don't tell me if it's fake. Because I've seen it all. Notice, we've been informed that from now on black people are not allowed to enter the restaurants for the sake of your health consciously notifying the local police for medical isolation. Please understand the inconvenient cost. Police tell 1110. So, who's benefiting racism? Black people or China or who is it? See, I need to correct her with this. Yeah, she's Asian. I don't want to make fun of her because she's Asian. I have friends that were Asian too. Doesn't mean they go around saying the same shit like her. I'm not being xenophobic. That's Sino-Tibetan phobic, some shit. But you need to understand yourself. Why are you so upset with it? Saying that, oh, we're going to make white people uncomfortable because we want to experience you with white supremacy. Who's the white boogeyman for that? That you need to think for yourself. What the fuck are you saying, you know? So I'm kind of gibbering a bit, but you need to understand yourself. She is not getting it. Anyways, let's continue.
they view the fight against racism as external to who they are. They view it as not connected to their own liberation. They view fighting against racism as something that they do for people like me, and therefore people like me should recognize and be grateful for.
You gotta learn how to be grateful for yourself. See, she just want to go around and go nuts for it, but she just not understanding. Educateful. You're not educateful enough. I know about education of life. Our psychology of, our philosophy thinking is think for yourself and think eternally. Okay? Anyways, let's continue.
That. And that their fight against racism can also be used as a bargaining chip. Because the veiled threat is if I don't meet this demand, or if I make them feel uncomfortable enough, then they can choose to stop fighting against racism.
Talking about it. See, she just makes it seem like, oh, we're gonna fight for it. You don't. How'd you fight racism, lady? How's it gonna work? Make that a huge point, or you just talk loud and make nonsense, try to make yourself sound good. Anyways,
The thing is, in order to fix the exploitation under capitalism that harms everybody regardless of race,
boss, capitalism provides benefit for you. Who live in this house? Who make you have this house? Make you have a nice fan, looks nice, and a curtain. My gay community is capitalism. So what the are you talking about, lady?
which is something that you claim to want to do, we must all work together to fight against racism as well. Because
it's been ending. There's a civil rights act, there's a Southern Poverty Law Center citing that it's been ending. Doesn't mean it's going to end completely. You can't end racism. How are you going to end it? You don't know about these people. Like, what is wrong with you? Anyways, yeah, racism is going to go on with it. It's bad. It's not good to be racist, right? It's like it's not good to be xenophobic, anti-Semitic, and even Islamophobic as well. So you gotta understand yourself, lady. Anyways, let's continue.
racism and anti-blackness is what upholds capitalism in the United States. So it is not something that you are doing for other people. It is something that you are doing for yourself because
How they do it for themselves? They say what they're feeling because if someone who commented is Irish, saying I'm a modern day Irish, I fought racism my whole life, and still will. But let's talk about the Chinese oppressions of Christians, yes, or the Chinese oppressions of the Uyghurs, Muslims. I know I'm not hating on China on that. I do like what China was doing in the government, but what I'm saying is it's not benefiting for what they're trying to be mistreating people and be. We want them to be inclusive with other people in China too. See, she's just gonna go around talk it out, make it seem like you just feel uncomfortable with it. Yeah, it makes you uncomfortable. You're saying we're uncomfortable? Well, guess what? You're uncomfortable for not benefiting and fighting over with it. I'm not saying I'm uncomfortable with that. I feel you for that. But let's not talk about nasty stuff that you go around just throwing a foul language on yourself, trying to make yourself sound good. Get that? Anyways, let's continue.
your liberation depends upon it. So it is inherent to who you are, and it should be a constant in your life, which means that it never comes up as a bargaining chip. To say, I'm a modern day Irish American, by the way, and I fought racism my whole life and still will.
Yeah, you read that right, but they still fight. They dealt with slavery. I look at this research and it's saying that our slave is a myth. Look at the Barbary slave trade. They'll say it's a myth too. What happened was the Ottoman Turks appropriate with North Africa to abort white European Christians, whether they're south or north, whatever. Icelandic guy was treated by a slave master who was a corsair, a Barbary, and all that. There's a Barbary slave ship thing, and look what they're whipping: white European Christians. It's not faking art. It's been proven in documentaries, papers, and all that. Papers aren't cheap for that, so I'm just saying for that. You need to benefit yourself and shut the up for crying over it. You're just gonna go around boohoo whining and crying, racism, oppression, oh, I see color in us, no. No, you don't. Have you experienced racism? No. It's not that blacks weren't dealing with slavery. Yeah, blacks were dealing with it too, I agree, but it doesn't mean it's right. Why can't you just move on for it? It's 2025. Focus on tech, focus on bright future. 2010, we go out skateboarding, have fun, sing around, and do the backflip and all that, but what's wrong with you, lady? Anyways, let's continue. I know my time.
Should feel as absurd as if you said, I'm a modern day Irish American, by the way, and I've eaten food my whole life and still will. Has nothing to do with any interaction that you and I have with each other. I want to talk about how
She's wrong all the way. We're gonna look at Amy Chen for that. Okay, so let's see. First millions of slaves that came to America were from Ireland. Okay, let's go. There's gonna be a most hatred part. If you wanna watch NYTN, let's give it a watch after this, so let's continue.
maybe someday people will learn that this argument is never the flex that they think it is. Because, first of all, who indentured the Irish who came to the
Okay,
American colonies as servants? The same people who came to
okay,
the American colonies.
let's go back for what she's saying. It's time to drink water. Better for talking with water. Ugh. Anyways, this is what someone said. North Viking guy, 1970s. Okay, let's go. First million slaves came from Ireland. I mean, sorry, just kidding. First million slaves that came to America were from Ireland. White European Caucasians have been enslaved just like any other race in the world. I agree. And someone put out the comment say that's why history is not taught in public school. Well, it's been taught in public school in different ways. We know slavery kind of impacts some blacks, but why can't we just understand the dialogue? If there's a documentary with it, if you don't know, they're saying that the Irish slave myth is really not a thing. I don't want to talk to my stepdad about it. He'll think that's dumb to say, but he knows that is, but I'm just saying. They were doing railroads and all that. I kind of sent a comment on it. There's an Irish Railroad Working Museum. Slavery in Ireland. Let's look at the topics. Viking Age slave chains. So what happened was during the Viking Age, they go around. They call it the Anglo-Saxons. If you don't know who the Saxon is, research it. Anglo-Saxons were Anglic Germanic people. They go around colonize Ireland. They colonize the Britain region, which is UK now. The Britain region were like Welsh, Cornish, or Scottish, or Celtic people, Celtic minorities. Celtics have different flavors of that. You could be Scottish, you could be Irish, you could be Welsh, you could be Cornish, you could be Breton for France. That's what Breton or Brittany, whatever. Manx. You could be any of those race in Celtic. I mean, there's quite a few, but just like there's many Romance languages, they get mistreated too. Romance were like mainly Catholic. There could be French, Italian, Spanish, Romania, Moldova, Sephardic, which is Jewish, part in Spain, or even with what's that Romanian? Portugal, by the way. So yeah, everything can be unique with it, depending. But Germanics, they kind of hold over, and the Slavics, they were slaves. That's what they got the word Slav. That's what the word Slav comes from. And also, if you don't know, St. Patrick, he was a slave. Young man, it's a young man. St. Patrick was kidnapped by Irish pirates, transported to Ireland, and sold as a slave. If you don't know St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Happy St. Patrick's Day to our Lord Saint. He is from the Roman Britain Empire and died for it. He was a slave and he was a martyr, I guess. He was a 5th century British Christian missionary and bishop, and also the apostle. So if you don't know who the apostle is, let's take back with Peter and Paul. Peter was an apostle from the breed of the Catholic Church, and Paul, he hadn't met Jesus, but he canonized the faith towards the Orthodox Church, or Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Bulgarian Orthodox, or Greek Orthodox, a bit whatever. So I'm just saying, Paul was later times with it, but before that, Peter was met Jesus and kind of walked away. He and forgot about him. Peter shouldn't stay on him because Jesus would have been old, but Jesus was crucified badly at the age of 33. So I'm just saying, you're thinking that you got the right path saying Chinese mistreat Christians in China. They still do. But I'm not saying they were bad generally. There are some Christians in China, but I'm just saying. Alright, here we go. Slavery had already existed in Ireland for centuries. By the time Vikings began establish their coastal settlements, but it was under the North Scale Kingdom of Dublin that it reached its peak in the 11th century. Wow, pretty sad. But people are going to put proof on it. Well, look at that. And there's a book with it. Testimony of an Irish slave. You can give it a read. It's by um, Kate McGafferty. Sounds Irish, but you know. Most girls have orange or ginger hairs. Down in Ireland, men too. But see, people are just mad because they just want to make it seem like it's a myth, bullshit, and all that. You're not making it bullshit. How are you gonna know it's bullshit? 38 million Irish were living in America, partner with their ancestry DNA. They're gonna talk about that. It's a myth. Research that, lady. Anyways, good night. Let's continue. Yeah, she's gonna fool herself.
Maybe someday people will learn that this argument is never the flux that they think it is, because first of all, who indentured the Irish who came to the American colonies as servants? The same people who forced enslaved Africans to the American colonies.
Nope, not true. I mean, even though they were, but black people were enslaved from Africa. You know who slaved them? If you don't know, they slave each other. Yes, partner with kings and queens. The Ashantis were like kingdom countries. They invest in gold. I can show you the currency and the research with the Ashanti Empire. Even though black people dealt with slave in Jim Crow America, yeah, that happens. I'm not saying they not. Sorry, I kind of type it wrong. Someone put a name on it. Ashanti Empire. Content. Anyways, the Ashanti Empire. They got the symbol of the porcupine and all that. Okay, so what's their currency? Gold, dust, cowrie shells, which they're like shells, and Mopodina. To probably weigh it in or brand out some shit. Gold was quite mainly. If you know gold, gold is like an atomized chemical symbol AU. It's a chemical thing. You can use it on jewelry. You can use it on necklaces. You can use it on coins. You can use it on everything. Gold is very rare and quite expensive, but there's some alternative gold like fool's gold. My dad also tell me what his great grandmother said. I mean, my great grandmother said to him, "If it ain't glitter, it ain't gold." We call it fool's gold. So this is glitter for the Ashanti Empire. And also, they dealt with slavery a lot. There was a lot of kingdomship. But also, if you research it, what was kingdom? Absolute monarchy or national state. Okay. And it's been still around in 1935 to 1957 while Britain occupies it and then they just diminish the country with it. They mistreat people badly. If you look up slavery, here's the research. Ashanti Empire, the powerful 19th century, and what is now Ghana became a major source of enslaved people in the transatlantic slave trade, trading captives to European powers for goods like firearms. So they just shifted off with it, and then there's a video of it I want to share. Yeah, they abort people to America, and they tell people to stop. That's not right. Just like the Aztec Empire, the Spain goes into the Aztec Empire. They've done the Aztec. I don't want to say it. It's freaking brutal. I don't want to share the image. If I do, I'll get demonetized, but please don't make it an image. Okay. A human sacrifice is common in many parts of Mesoamerica, the right of nothing new. So they do a worse human sacrifice. I'll give you a gory experience. The king shouts with the god to honor Quetzalcoatl, which is Cococan, the sun god, and he cut the slave's heart and pull it up to make the godson survive. and he dumped the body and they cannibalized him. Yeah, they're cannibalized people. They're terrible at that time. Even though Mexicans got their roots with it still, but it's terrible how they do that. Very sad, but far for that. But it's what it is. So people just don't see that. It's not that Christians were right and not wrong and all that. It's what people thought we should make human sacrifice. We should make human sacrifice eliminate it and make things change for the people. Let them live their life. You want someone to live your life or you want someone to sacrifice you. Which one is it? No matter if they're Christian, Jew, or Muslim and all that. You want someone to save your life or sacrifice you. Let me know what you think. Anyways.
So why then do Irish Americans not join with Black Americans in fighting against the systems of oppression that their shared oppressors created? It's not because those systems of oppression don't exist anymore.
What is it?
It's because they no longer affect Irish Americans. And the video that you're responding to was about how whiteness in the United States is not something that requires protecting from Black people, because Black Americans have shown throughout United States history that they possess a deeper morality than the people who enslaved them.
I don't get that. That doesn't make sense. The problem is they mistreat people. And if you don't know, the Barbary slave trade thing attacked by North Afrikaners and Turkish. I'm trying to look up and see what it is. Sorry about the star's name, but they say with the hereditary chattel slavery, experience a forebear of Africa diaspora. USA Today comments later. Who posted that? Matthew Brown. Oh yeah. Fat chat. Irish were identifier servants, not slaves. Don't fall for that. But anyways, and here's a research on the development education. Irish people were free slave in America. I could be wrong for that. So doesn't mean they're racist and all that. They deal with mistreatments a lot. If you don't know the trouble. What's going on with the trouble is they had a bloody war towards the Catholics and the Protestants. So it should be a claim. And then August 2019, Democrat Party, I don't know. Irish people were not enslaved in colonial America, nor were they first people identified as the first early evangel. Who wrote this? Liam Hogan. You can see. They're kind of related to Black people and all that. I could be wrong on this, but the problem is, thank you for that, but the problem with that is, they're anti-slavery. So, let's go back for what NYTN has to say.
The story of how the Irish became white in America is bittersweet. My research is not to create victims or to create the us versus them. But if we want a better nation tomorrow, we need to understand why we have the kind of mindsets that we have today around race. I think America is extremely divided on race. It's to highlight the mercurial nature of racial politics here in America. The story of how the Irish became white in America is bittersweet. My research is not to create victims or.
So apparently the Irish people are at war with the people who are Irish in America. From Massachusetts, I've always had an affinity.
Anyways, Irish people in the internet reminds us why everyone hates our ancestors. See, they keep debunking this, but you're not getting a point for it.
The doctor fella, is it?
Oh, yes.
African Americans with attitude. So that's why they're bringing it on themselves, Kathleen, with the fuck police and things like that.
Now, let's look at what they're trying to put down there. I saw a Black narrator put it down, and they just want to keep denying and trying to cover up because it doesn't fit in their narrative. Doesn't mean Black people weren't slaves. They were. It's bad. So let's see if I get this right.
Irish people were the first slaves in America, and nobody talks about it.
Our ancestors were ripped from their homes in
I'll
Ireland,
put that on.
shackled, and sold for less than African slaves in the 1600s. They were called white cargo and treated as disposable workers. Over 300,000 Irish were shipped to the Caribbean
Here we
and
go.
American colonies. They worked sugar plantations alongside African slaves, died from disease, and shipped to and treated as disposable workers. Over
300,000. So let me put this question on it. Were 300,000 Irish mistreated in America? This should answer the question. I don't want to hear that. When Irish despised in 19th century. Okay. I agree. Forced to their homelands because of famine, political upheaval, Irish endured violence, discrimination before making their way to American mainstream. So history cover up. Who is the narrator on it? Christopher Klein. Okay, Christopher. Let's pull it up, see who he is. This is the guy in the picture. Good journalist looking guy. But let's see what he's saying. Not saying good yet, but let's see. The refugees seek haven in America where poor, disease ridden. They, they to take to take jobs away. You get that? They're threatening to take jobs away from Americans. It's like saying Mexicans is going to take over and take over jobs in Americans. They felt the same way with the Irish back in a long time. They felt the same way when Jews take over America, and then they mistake that and say that they take over blacks take over jobs and Arabs take over jobs. This is crazy and dumb for what they're saying about us. This is sad. See, if people just mislead and make it seem like it's true, even though I'm not wrong, I might be right for it. Here we go. In strained welfare budget, they practice an alien religion, pledge allegiance to the foreign leader. They bring in with them crimes. They were accused of being some such they undesirable were Irish. So we look at the Irish family. We look at Irish family. It's in New York. They had a worst famine in history. They make them pay less than other Americans. This is sad. No one's to hear the news. It makes people uncomfortable with it. Kind of spreads worldwide. And it's affecting human life. People died in there. Here we go. Fleeing a shipwreck island near 2 million refugees from Ireland crossed to Atlantic United States. This will wake up with hunger. Beginning in 1845, the Irish begins to tag along with withering leaves the country of potato plants beneath the sun as the festering potato plants and the true red mucus in the pathogen scourge Ireland's staple crop and rendered the municipal. So what I forgot to mention, they grow potatoes and also potato plants swept across Europe. The core of the content was independent to survival in Ireland, which was mired in extreme poverty as a result centuries of Britain roots. Packing the nutrition and easy to grow. So they grow potatoes, they survive themselves, and here you go. First, they got the staggering of the Irish plight. It was accident began. Struck by famine or coughing sick carrying passengers who were religious tension. So they discriminate them because of their religion. Conflict between Protestants and Catholics in the United States has entered a broken out of violence. Just like the Troubles. If you don't know about the Troubles, here's a research. It's been around during the 90s. They had a Bloody Sunday in Ireland. People are protesting Northern Ireland, and the guards of Britain blaze them. It's sad. So disgusting. You need to understand this. When Amy Chen, you hear me with this? It happens in 1960s to 1998. I wonder what the Cranberries sing the song for zombies for. Oops, anyways. Northern Ireland violence occasionally spread the Republic of Ireland. England split on it in the Eastern Defense Force, which are Easter people. They're kind of like Irish people, Ulster Scot, but not like Irish people legitly. The result, military statement, Good Friday Agreement. The Good Friday Agreement is when you celebrate Good Friday, Lent and all that. Standard agreement with it. St. Andrew's Agreement, okay. Operation Banner, disarmament of paramilitary group. Terrence, so just the problem with this. So it's 3,000 were dead, 1,000 were killed, 47.50 were injured. This is sad. And kids affecting even worse for that. They want Northern Ireland back. UK took it and misplaced it. So yeah. And if you don't know where Belfast is, if you watch the movie Belfast, you'll see what I'm talking about. They won the Academy for it, so yeah. This is so sad. It's not that I hate Britain and all that. I hate the country with it. Y'all don't even see that. You get mad because you don't even understand with it, bro. Anyways, let's continue. One more video, then I'll be done.
300,000 Irish were shipped to the Caribbean and American colonies. They worked sugar plantations alongside African slaves, died from disease and brutality.
A long time with it.
The difference. This history was erased. No reparations, no memorials, no recognition. Books even changed Irish slaves to indentured servants to minimize what happened.
See, and they cover it up. They called them as servants. See, now we've seen it before. I realized I feel like I was wrong. Maybe I'm right with it. Here we go. Another one.
The word redneck actually comes from Irish workers whose skin burned in the Caribbean sun. This forgotten chapter of history shows how oppression knows no color. This forgotten chapter of history shows how oppression knows no color. Irish people were the first slaves in.
I want you to understand this. Am I wrong with this? Am I right with this? Let me know what you think. I put down as a black person, I agree, truth hurts, didn't get a like for it. As an Irish, you can't tell anyone because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Damn right. Scottish also. Okay, here we go. Let's look at the reply in Scottish. They kind of men throw rocks better. Came here to say this. Yeah, Scottish, they dealt with the Jacobite oppression there. Yeah, anyways, it's really up what the Brits did a long time, but yeah. Not Scottish because they were part of British Empire. Well, they were, but they execute Mary Queen of Scots, chop her head off with it. It's just sad. Sad, sad, sad. How they do it to her like that. They were poor because of the crown. The crown jewel is not going to shine as poor people were. Look at Brunei. Brunei is the most hated country ever. So yeah. So, and also, let's see what the comments said. Agreed, the argument I started just by starting in this fact, LOL. The Black Prince are lost because of this conversation. You gotta be careful with this. They were really big. They weren't really friends. It was gonna be a friend for it. Yeah. I'm not making fun of someone that's dealing with dog shit. Anyways, why, why? Because the overshadowing misinformation about actual history. Who cares? Right is right. Wrong is wrong. Agree. Some people can't handle the truth. Hang in there, buddy. Yeah, I'm with you so far, sir. Thank you, Texas guy. Oh, I'm good. I don't dwell to anyone that puts down you. He didn't even say he didn't mean to say that because he wants to explain perfectly and saying that well, I felt the same story like black Africans doing they mistreated badly. Yes, if you don't know Anthony Johnson and Willie April Ellison, you might have to do a research for this because this is gonna throw a bumpy ride. Let's see how I can find it. You don't want to talk about this in school. Until she was clearing her glasses, not gonna follow up with it. Let's see what she has to say.
This is your friendly reminder that the Irish were never slaves. Unless you include the ones stolen by the Vikings.
Yeah.
But yes, the Irish.
Ooh, why is it not doing it? See that? Coming for her clear glasses. Should probably sell out anyways. Glasses by the way. Where she had clear glasses by the way. So let's look up Willie Ellison. From slave owner owning 63 slaves. Here we go.
William Ellison was sent by his master to apprentice to cotton gin and grist mill maker in Winnsboro, South Carolina, 1802. Ellison spent 14 years learning to be a skilled gin maker. On June 8, 1816, Ellison was granted his freedom. With this freedom, Ellison went into business for himself as a master cotton gin builder and repairer. This would lead to owning his first 2 slaves according to a 1820 federal census. Ellison's slave count increased to 12 working in his shop by 1840. As Ellison's success grew, his slave count would continue growing. According to the 1850 slave schedule, Ellison owning 37 slaves, 27 males and 10 females. His son Henry owned 2 young slaves, and sons William Jr. and Reuben each had a teenage female slave. By 1860, William Ellison was the largest of 171 black slaveholders in South Carolina, owning 63 slaves who resided in 10 slave houses, and his 3 sons owned 9 slaves, shown in the 1860 census. Only 5% of the people owned as much land.
Why is it connecting the dots? Why is it throwing the check marks? Why is it just writing down? Most papers are quite legit sometimes. If you look on your showing. If it's misleading, why is the paper old script for that? I don't know. Let's continue.
Land as Ellison, having not only his gin shop, but also a 900-acre cotton plantation. William Ellison was...
See that? Teach us in class. Knowledge is power, but I wish I never knew this. Thank you for the enlightenment. Keep it coming. We have to be enlightenment for that. You educate for that Blackstone slave misleading. They are so wrong with it. So, I want you to tell yourself, why did you misleading yourself and not understanding? The black lady said, I'm at a loss for words. Yep. Someone go, damn. Well, yeah. Her saying, I need to know. Wow, are you serious? His plantation HTTP. Okay, let's look at the HTML thing. I know computers and stuff. Can I copy and paste it? So we dealing with the troubles. What happened? They dealt with strong, shitty plants with it. Anyway, so South Carolina plantation. They make a presentation website. It's on HTML. I need to do HTML more. I would have code like this, but wow. Ellison's plantation. I'm gonna have to keep this website. Wow. South Carolina Information Highway. This is the legit site for that. See that? They kind of legit on this. See, if you don't think that wasn't just real, I want to see how people. Oh, I left that website. Oops.
William
People are gonna pull up the comments and be mad at us. Oh, here we go.
Thank you for asking that question. TikTok, are you ready to have your mind blown? William Ellison was the largest black slave owner in South Carolina, with over 60 slaves. And yes, there were many others. Ironically, Ellison started out as a slave himself. His master sent him away to learn the cotton gin business. He became so good at it that he bought his way out of slavery with earnings from his own labor. And not only that, but in order to gain freedom, you needed 5 freemen to vouch for you in court that you would be able to support yourself thereafter. He also became the first person of color to install a family bench on the first floor of his church. Interestingly enough, he also supported the Confederate Army, offering them labor from 53 of his slaves. However, his sons were rejected when they tried enlisting into the Confederate Army due to their skin color. It's funny to me to think that such a policy critically impacted the results of the war. And how would you handle reparations in this situation? Thank you for asking that question.
How would you handle reparations? Give me my paycheck for this. Give me the paycheck for my great grandfather. This for my great grandfather who walked a couple miles for school for it. This for everyone. Everyone in Mississippi. This for everyone in Florida. This for everyone for Georgia and all the South people. Tennessee, Kentucky, and all that shit. Don't forget Virginia, West Virginia. Anyway, so South abroad, you can look it up. But I'm just saying. You just don't understand it. And also, I could give you a look. If you think Democrat wasn't a thing, Jefferson Davis is Confederacy, but his party seems aligned with it. He's like the Abraham Lincoln of hate. Jefferson Davis, okay? It's going to be graphic. Last thing before I go off. It shows his political party. It's on Wikipedia. This Jefferson Davis, what does he support? He was the president of the Confederate state. The guy got in the side for it. Thank you for it. And then he was a Democrat. Don't believe me? You can look it up. This is him when he was young. Like, he is so hateful. Anyways, that's it for that. I want you to understand this guy is jumping in to get started. Mind blowing. People, and this is what this guy, Title of Liberty, to Title of Liberty said. Sorry, sir. Real speak. Funny how the woke mob just skipped this. Oh, they skipped that. All right. They just want to say it because they think the slavery in Boston should have been a thing. I want to describe this guy, this the wet guy, and we'll come back with them. I want to do a like and save.
So everyone and their mother is walking away from the Democrat Party right now, and I want to share my story of why I walked away from the Democrat Party after a lifetime of being a Democrat, voting for Obama, voting for Hillary Clinton. In fact, in 2016, I drove 100 miles round trip just to vote for Hillary Clinton. And that was because I was still registered in an old county, even though I had moved to Los Angeles County about 2 years prior. But I was so politically unmotivated and politically uninformed that I couldn't be bothered to register in LA County in time to actually vote in the election that was super important to me. So I drove 100 miles round trip just to vote for Hillary Clinton. Didn't know anyone else or anything else on the ballot. And when Hillary lost in 2016, that night I was working on a play because I was an actress for a long time. And there were tears. There were tears from me. There were tears from the other actors. We had a rehearsal going on and people were crying. And I was pretty outraged that Donald Trump had won. And I wasn't like in the streets, a zealot. I didn't have blue hair, but I was like default a Democrat. Everyone I knew in my whole life, other than my parents, were Democrats, were liberals. I was born and raised in Southern California. I had been an actress for a very long time. And I feel like, especially because of those things, but also just in general, the world is set up for you to be liberal. The world is set up for you to be a Democrat. And being anything else takes work. It actually takes some research and takes some doing. So I was just reflexively Democrat and never really questioned, is there a different way to vote? Is there a different way to think? I just took it as gospel truth that if you're a compassionate, good person who cares about other people, you vote Democrat. And I took it as gospel truth. Everything the media was telling me about Donald Trump. I thought he was a sexist. I thought he was a racist. I couldn't really pinpoint to you why specifically I thought those things, but I would see the headlines and I would see the things my friends reshared on Facebook, and I believed them. But then a couple things happened. The first one was like a planting of a seed. It didn't make me walk away, but it did plant the seed that came to fruition years later. And that was that around 2016, 2017, that's when I first remember hearing the phrase white privilege. And like I said, I was an actor. Around that time, I saw this intense push for racial diversity above everything else. It became very clear that there was only one type of story that actors, that Hollywood, that theater wanted to tell, and it wasn't mine as a white woman. And this idea of white privilege especially just felt like such a punch in the gut, because I do not have white privilege. I have watched my parents struggle in ways that are immeasurable. I have watched my grandparents struggle. I myself have struggled. And I am blessed in a lot of ways to be an American, to be able-bodied, to have two parents, a mother and a father who loved me and never got divorced. But those have nothing to do with the color of my skin. And it felt like a denial of my lived experience, to borrow from the liberals, that, oh my gosh, you have white privilege and you just can't question it. And even if you deny it, that's just more of an indication you have white privilege. And it was like so crazy to me, because here I am, someone who is struggling in the same way you are, and maybe even worse sometimes, but I have to sit down and shut up because I have white privilege. But I didn't say anything. I didn't walk away from the Democrat Party. I kept quiet about it, but it was just like sitting in the pit of my stomach. And then summer 2020 rolled around, and I was told that I could go out and protest or riot or loot on behalf of BLM, but I still couldn't go to work. And that was it for me. That was what made me walk away from the Democrat Party. Because up until that point,
Lose their job with the if they go around to say they just go around loot, get away from shit. You can't get away trauma and crime. You can't get away what you did wrong. If people's house, that's a crime. Just like you trespass, invade people's stores, steal stuff is a crime. People don't want to admit that. Let's say if you do a home invasion, you better don't come to my house with it. Wouldn't be a lucky day. Can you get away with it? No. So yeah, I like this for her. She is good. I may have to come back for another video for this. I quite didn't finish that. One more thing with that is Lily Lee. If you don't know Lily Lee, another Asian American woman, not like Amy Chen, but very good. She is.
Who was running the presidency for the last 4 years? A lot of people say.
Okay, so
who was running?
She was working for the Democrat National Committee, which they all had a rally there. I don't know who owns the Republican Committee. It was big and huge, and it got a huge win for Trump, but I don't know. I kind of felt like it's been lost me on that, but Democrat National Committee, it would have been understanding, but if you go to the two, go to the Republican Committee, go to the Democrat National Committee, what can't you hear and analyze yourself? What makes a difference? So Lily Lee, she's another Asian woman from Sichuan, China. She's very good. I have to respect her for this. Let's see what she has to say. Amy Chen, you think I'm xenophobic? I already support her. She's Asian, so sorry.
Running the presidency for the last 4 years. A lot of people say it was Obama's third term.
It was for sure Obama's third term. I don't think that's even a question. I don't think anyone It definitely was. And that's why you saw Obama fighting for his dear life. Why was he fighting so hard in the fall? Because he was fighting for his fourth term. He was fighting for his own legacy. The relationship between Obama and Biden is most reminiscent of that between LBJ and JFK. JFK had little respect for Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah, he had a little respect, but he's quite influent himself. I mean, Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, they're popular men. They fight against equal change and segregation and help us treat us equal with everyone. He hired Martin Luther King. So if you don't know, let's see, JFK and Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, he's quite lefty a bit, but he's good. That's him with Robert F. Kennedy, I guess, but standing at the White House with them, if the algorithm was influenced, and they put the flyer laws we forgot or probably redesign. Oh, he died in 1968, same year as Martin Luther King. Sad. See, the government, I don't know if the government did it or not. They say the government killed him and all that shit, but they just don't like the way how we treat everyone with respect. They felt like we lost it, and then they turned into a party switch thinking that, oh, fuck this. I mean, the party switch, I don't think it's a thing. It still upholds for what it was. It's still not going to be forgotten. The damage has been done. The Greensboro sit-in, the black and white color drinking fountain, and even hit sponge John Lewis in the head by a police with a baton. Damage has been done. So I want you to take your time and think how appreciate you are, how grateful you are you've been living your life. It's not about what you're living. Lily Lee, she sees it and knows, hey, I would have been better for a Democrat. I felt like I didn't see this no more, but this is not right. If Amy Chen would have said that, she would have had $1 million for that. Okay? Not saying she would, but she would have regret for that. Get together. Anyways, I gotta go. So, come out for part 2 on the stream. See you next time. Hope you have a great day. Peace.